Hey everybody, Bronco Juggalo here with another walk through your nightmares. Today we are going to be going over Freddy's Dead. Freddy's Dead stars Robert Englund, Lisa Zane, and Yaphet Kotto, which I'm not sure if you remember, but Yaphet Kotto played a character in one of my favorite James Bond movies, Live and Let Die, named Kananga. Let's jump into the synopsis of this story real quick. It's been 10 years since the events of Nightmare on Elm Street 5. There was only one kid left in Springwood, and Freddy gives him amnesia, and he tasks the kid with bringing him new souls. One new soul in particular Freddy is interested in, and just so you know, this is a spoiler, and there are spoilers in this film. One of the new souls Freddy is interested in is the soul of Maggie, played by Lisa Zane, who happens to be Freddy Krueger's daughter, who we did not know about in any of the previous entries. But it turns out before Freddy was killed, he had a little girl about 4 or 5 years old, and he had a wife. And it kind of goes back and forth in the story, and we get to see some of Freddy's backstory before he became Freddy Krueger that we all know. Before he was killed, before everything happened to him that he could start invading people's dreams, we see how it all went down. We see that as he was getting burned alive, he sold his soul to the dream demons that gave him the powers to go into dreams and to keep living forever. Freddy tries to get Maggie to join him, which of course she does not do, and she fights him. And by the end of this movie, Freddy is impaled with his own glove, and then he's blown up. And he's dead. At last, Freddy is finally dead. Well, for all of about 5 seconds. Jumping right into the pros and cons section of this, let's go over our pros real quick. One of my biggest pros in this movie is we do get to see a lot of the backstory of Freddy Krueger before he was the dream demon that we know him as. It was when he was alive. We even get to see him as a little child. We get to see him being tormented by other kids and him killing defenseless animals. We get to see him being beaten by a stepfather. We get to see him with his wife and his daughter and putting forth the portrayal that he's this good family man. One of my absolute favorite scenes is that we actually get to see Freddy's torture room, I guess you could call it, or his workshop, where he makes all the different gloves and things. And he had not just the iconic glove that we always known. In this shot, it shows a wide variety of gloves that he's put together. And it's some amazingly cool looking stuff. I really enjoy that. I enjoy that we got that look. His wife discovers it, and she comes out of the basement after screaming and figuring out what's going on and who he is, that he is in fact the Springwood slasher. And she says, I'll never tell, I'll never tell. Freddy tells his little girl to go inside, and he proceeds to throttle his wife. Another big pro in this for me is there are a lot of really good cameos in this film. You have Roseanne Barr, you have Tom Arnold, you have Johnny Depp, and then you have Alice Cooper, who is playing the stepfather of Freddy Krueger. Another big pro to this film is the kills. And he kills 4 people. We're just going to talk about 3 of them. The Carlos kill, where Carlos, he gets so filled with sound, Carlos is deaf, and Freddy demonizes his hearing aid, and it fills his head, makes everything louder, fills his head full of sound, until his head starts to bulge out and his head explodes. I thought it was very well thought out, very well done. The second kill is Spencer. And the Spencer kill, I'm torn between this kill and the next kill I'm going to talk about as being my favorites of this film. The Spencer kill, Spencer is stoned off his ass, and Freddy invades his dream, and he makes him think it's a video game, that he's inside a video game. And if you're about my age, you remember the Nintendo Entertainment System, and of course you remember the Power Glove. And Freddy's glove is the Power Glove from Nintendo, but it is in a kind of a Freddy-ized, very demonic looking fashion. He has switches and knobs and buttons on his glove, but it's got the blades, and it's very dirty looking and old. It's not the sleek Nintendo Power Glove we got from Nintendo. It's very much a Freddy version. But it's a really cool kill, and he basically takes control of Spencer and runs him around like he's a video game character, and then gets Spencer's guts stomped out by a Freddy monster in the video game, and puts his head through the roof, puts his head through the wall, and it's just a very awesome kill all around. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy the entire sequence of it. I really like the entire video game sequence they do in it. The third kill, and I'm still trying to decide which one I like better, the video game kill or this kill. I think I'm going to lean towards this one a little bit more, because to me, this kill was very much, in my opinion, a tribute to Looney Tunes. It shows the kid is on a parachute in his dream, and he's falling. And in the chute, at the top of the chute, is Freddy, circling around. Freddy comes down, cuts the parachute, and the kid drops. The kid's name is John Doe. He has no memory. He's the one Freddy's tasked with bringing in souls. And John also thinks that he is Freddy's child, and he's not. So Freddy's like, "Oh, did you think I'm your daddy?" Wrong. Cuts the straps holding the parachute. John plummets down to the earth, and Freddy is pushing backwards against a bed of spikes that is on wheels, and he puts it into position, and he sinks down on it, tired from his effort, and just breathes really hard, goes, and just kind of poses there, like, nonchalantly. And it very much reminded me of a Bugs Bunny cartoon. And I actually really enjoy that. A big pro I want to talk about is the closing montage of this film. This film came out in 1991, and I forgot to mention this earlier, but it was directed and I believe written by a woman named Rachel, I'm probably going to butcher this last name, Talalay. However, during the credits, it shows a montage of all of the films leading up to this point, and it's got a really good song called "Why Was I Born" by Iggy Pop. It's just really cool seeing all the very good scenes, a lot of the best scenes from the movies, all leading up to this movie. So that was a really cool way to end it. I thought it was a really cool tribute to all of the movies. The series out with a bang. Like I said, at least for the next 6 years. One last pro I'd like to add. There is a very good supporting group of characters in this film. You really do get to find out everything about these characters' backstories, at least as much as you need to know to make them interesting. We find out that Stacy's father used to rape her. We find out that Carlos's mother abused him and made him lose his hearing by jamming things in his ears. We find out that Spencer's father is a rich douchebag who wants his son to be just like him, and when his son isn't, thinks that there's something got to be wrong with him, so he puts him in a home for troubled children. Then we have John Doe, who has lost his memories, thinks he's Freddy's son, and is trying to solve this mystery. All of those characters around Freddy Krueger and Maggie are very awesome. Yaphet Kotto's character is a guy named Doc, and he's kind of like he's their therapist, but he's also really into this dream therapy, and he believes that in dream therapy is how they can beat Freddy, and it does work in this film. So all of the characters are very well thought out, in my opinion. I think Rachel Talalay, the director of this film, did a great job in writing these characters. They're all very good. It's a very good team. And it may be the second or, actually, I'd put it the third best group of characters in the original series. On to the cons of this film. One of the biggest cons for me is what I like to call the empty Springwood plot points. And it's when the group of Maggie and the teenagers arrive in Springwood, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. They're trying to figure out this Freddy person. They're trying to figure out John's story. And there are no children. There's only adults, and all the adults are crazy. It's kind of cool in a way, but it also seems kind of pointless. They could have just put an empty ghost town, and that would have been just as well. It doesn't really add anything to the storyline, in my opinion. And, I mean, there's some campy, funny stuff going on, but it's where the camp of the film really does go over the top for me in a lot of it. And I'm going to get more into that in just here in a second, but that is a negative to me. That plot point is a negative. And it was just very out of tone for the rest of the series. Another big con for me is it seems like everybody in this movie, all the secondary characters, have the Dream Master abilities. They all seem to be able to pull people into their dreams or go into a dream of somebody else's. Or they have ways to master dreams that they shouldn't have. That storyline was already done. It didn't need to be redone. So that was a negative for me. Another negative for me in this film is it relies heavily on CGI effects. Now, I'm not saying they're all bad, especially for 1991. They're not bad. But it does rely heavily on CGI effects. And one thing I've come to love in the Nightmare on Elm Street series especially is the use of practical effects. They always seem to get such a good practical effects person, and there are a few practical effects in this, but most of it is all CGI. And you can tell that it's very 1990s, especially early 90s. It is a little dated, it is a little worn out, and I don't know if it completely holds up, especially in what may be my first or second biggest negative. I'm indecisive about this as well. The 3D third act. Okay, if you buy the DVD version of this film, it comes with a pair of old-fashioned 3D glasses. Actually, I think it comes with two pairs. In the box set, it even has them. I'm not sure about the new box set for the Blu-rays that came out because I haven't bought that yet. On to my final con, and as I said, I'm not sure if this con bugs me more or if the special effects con bugs me more. And in a way, this is almost a special effects con. It's a makeup con. I do not like the look of Freddy Krueger in this film. His face looks a little bit wider, and it looks older. I know it's supposed to be 10 years later, but here's the thing, and it even touches on it in the plot of this story. Freddy Krueger, as a dream demon, is immortal. At least until he's killed. He shouldn't age. His face shouldn't age. I don't like the look of him in this. I feel it really makes him look like an old man. But I just don't like it. I don't like how aged he looks. Something I've heard other people comment on as well. Little known fact about this film is that it actually had a comic book adaptation, which isn't too surprising because a lot of films do get them. But it also spawned a sequel to that, or you could call it, I guess, a prequel, because it was called A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Beginning. And it kind of was a prequel story for Freddy Krueger. The last thing I want to talk about is I really like this movie. This movie catches a lot of shit. It's got a terrible critic rating. Reviewers across the board put this movie in their bottom. Well, I will get to all that in my ranking, but I can name you at least 3 movies in this series that are worse than this one. I enjoy this movie. In a way, it's kind of like Jason X. It's just a fun film. If you can take your brain out of it, grab some popcorn, sit down and just have fun with it, this film works. It completely works. It is actually a really good film if you do that. If you're trying to say, oh, it's not horror enough or it's not camp, this film, no, it's not scary. It is not horrific. It is not a Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1. It's not even Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. It's not even Freddy vs. Jason or New Nightmare. It is something of its own. And you could tell that they were trying to do that with this film by giving it a different title. The fact that it's not entitled A Nightmare on Elm Street, but is in fact titled Freddy's Dead, A New Nightmare, it shows that they were trying to go in a different direction with this movie. And there's been rumors about why it was titled differently for years. There's even been rumors that Wes Craven had a lawsuit against them and everything. I've never found anything to substantiate those rumors. And this film was released by New Line Cinema, which owns the rights to Freddy Krueger and has released every single Freddy Krueger film. So, I just want to say that I really enjoy this movie. I know a lot of people don't. And a lot of people have this attitude towards it, like, how dare it even be part of the series? You know, I guess I can be that kind of snob as well when it comes to horror movies. I am a self-professed horror movie snob. Like, Halloween 3. I hate that movie. It should not be in the Halloween series. At all. Period. Get it out of there. Well, guys, that is my review of Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. And I'm going to leave you with my two favorite lines from this movie. Because as everybody knows, every town has an Elm Street. So I will see you guys later, and kung fu this, bitch.